What's going on, everybody? Hope you're all having a fantastic day today. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is absolutely insane because not too long ago, we were wondering where DICE is, what's happening. Nobody's mentioning anything about, any current updates, what they're planning on, so on and so forth. And then now, out of the blue, they are on top of it, ladies and gentlemen. We just got another nice juicy amount of information for what's coming within the new update for Battlefield 6. I think it's dropping December 9th. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's for the winter update. And we got a lot more details to go ahead and discuss. So, of course, as always, buckle on in. We're going to try to discuss all the information right here, right now. And, obviously, as always, go down in the comment section and let me know what you guys think about all this stuff. But, ladies and gentlemen, before going dive on deep, if you guys are interested in more content like this, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell. I post twice here, once at 8 a.m. Eastern Time and the second time at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. And also, if you guys are interested in any of my live streams, I do stream Monday through Saturday over on Twitch starting at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Of course, if you guys are interested, got a link to that channel in the description of this video. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, with that being said, let's go ahead and dive right on in. Just so you guys know, all this information is coming from Battlefield Bulletin, and just like with all my other links, I'll leave a link to this post down in the description of this video. Battlefield Bulletin begins by saying audio improvements, better prioritization of important combat and vehicle sounds, a comprehensive pass on footsteps to improve clarity, distance definition, and positional awareness, and lastly, addressed performance and memory issues that could cause sounds such as vehicles or footsteps to sometimes not play as intended. I'm really happy that they dove into details on what's happening with the audio and, what things they are prioritizing right here, right now. And let me tell you guys something, I am so stupidly excited to see what is in store when it comes down to audio, because I think that is not one of the biggest problems. Obviously, I think a lot of people think netcode would be much more massive of an issue, but the audio definitely needs some improvements, and I think this is going to be pretty dang good when it finally comes into the overall experience. Next up here, mode adjustments. Firstly, rush and breakthrough, improved attacker flow, reduced defender oversaturation, and tightening clarity around objectives. Multiple capture zones have been reshaped or clarified so players understand more clearly where to contest or defend. Vehicle spawns have also been rebalanced on several maps to better support attackers where pushes tended to stall and to reduce setups where defenders held overwhelming vehicle advantages. Now moving over to breakthrough specifically, capture volumes and vehicle availability have been updated across several maps. Siege of Cairo now features an additional attacker tank in Sector 1 and 3, along with an updated capture area on B. And for Rush, MCOM locations on Manhattan Bridge and Liberation Peak have been adjusted to give attackers more reliable access and to smooth out the flow between sectors. And lastly, other improvements include UI clarity, minimap behavior, and controller aiming responsiveness, which is also, very good to hear, because I still hear to this very date that controller players are having some issues, not as many once they got their settings back up in order. But it's always good to hear that the controller players get a little bit of love, because I always say Battlefield is more of a mouse game, just like how Call of Duty is more of a controller game. But for both games, I always encourage them to, make sure everything's polished off. I always say in Call of Duty that mouse and keyboard should get some love, and I always say in Battlefield, controllers should get some love. So it's always good to hear that the developers are putting in that necessary work. Next up here is a little small section for combat systems, improvements across combat systems to help deliver more consistent, predictable, and responsive gameplay. But now the big boy, hit registration and netcode. Now we've known for a while now that we are indeed getting an update to the netcode, but they never went into detail on what's happening here. First and foremost, improved how bullet trajectories are aligned in fast-paced situations, including cases where shots were fired while transitioning into a zoom. Second, better handle high-density combat scenarios to ensure bullets register more reliably when multiple players are fighting in close proximity. Third, tighten the clarity of damage feedback so that health UI changes and damage cues feel immediate and easier to understand during combat. And lastly, resolved an issue where clients could briefly display certain pieces of geometry as intact, even though they have already been destroyed on the server. So, fingers crossed, all of this stuff that's happening here right now will improve the overall hit registration and netcode. Will it? I have no clue. Only time will tell. I still think that Battlefield 6 is, miles ahead of all the previous Battlefield games when it comes to the initial launch, but it's still something that is serious and something that must get fixed. So I really hope that these changes will go above and beyond, and if not, fingers crossed that they're going to keep their heads down and keep on hustling and getting more fixes out to make sure that this is the smoothest experience possible. Next up, soldier visibility. Firstly, refined how visibility effects activate at close range so that soldiers stand out more clearly in darker or low contrast areas. Second, updated prone animations to include more subtle movement, improving the ability to spot soldiers using low profile positions. And the last one here for soldier visibility. Future improvements include lighting and exposure, especially in indoor versus outdoor transitions, and how characters are read against complex environments. This is, once again, another huge one. It's great to hear that we're getting some visibility improvements. I can already, kind of tag my opponents. I don't have too much of an issue, but it's definitely still there, and you can see it online. Look it up anywhere, Reddit, Twitter, whatever social you want to hit up. Oh yeah, you're going to see people complaining about the visibility, so hopefully DICE can get this under order. Next up here, we have weapon adjustments, improvements to weapon handling, including fixes to first shot accuracy, attachment behavior, and tuning across various recoil patterns and weapon categories. These changes aim to deliver more predictable and consistent weapon performance in active combat. I'm very curious of what categories they're talking about here. I wish they would go into a bit more detail. Are they talking about SMGs, ARs, carbines, LMGs? What's going on? But I'm curious how this is going to feel. Seriously, it seems like they just continuously keep improving the gunplay bit by bit, piece by piece, and I keep thinking to myself, I hope they don't go too far because the gunplay feels very crispy. But again, it doesn't seem like they're changing too much when it comes to recoil patterns and bloom and all that. It's just mostly, it just sounds like hit reg and netcode and stuff like that to make sure everything feels crispier when you're engaging in gunfights. So fingers crossed this will be good for the overall weapon catalog. And the last thing I have for you guys here, because I'm not going to really discuss RedSec. I don't play RedSec. I don't really talk about it. You guys know me. I hop into Battlefield because I love what Battlefield is made for, so that's why I like to discuss. So you guys can, probably find another creator who dives deeper into this stuff. But the last thing here for all of us is ongoing work and future improvements. First and foremost, improving clarity, responsiveness, and fairness in combat. I'm curious what they mean by fairness. Are they still talking about netcode and hit reg basically and making sure it doesn't feel like you're getting cheated out of certain gunfights? That's what I kind of get out of the statement, which is always a good thing, because I have a pretty good feeling right now. Well, not a good feeling, it's a bad feeling, but it's a solid feeling. I'm pretty sure this is going to happen, that the netcode fixes aren't going to resolve everything. Let's be real here. This is going to be a challenge that they're probably going to have to overcome over a handful of months. And it's not like the end of the world because, as I stated, it's not as bad as previous Battlefield games. We're in a much better spot. But I'm just expecting this to be a slight improvement. Will it be noticeable? Yes, but will it be the end of everybody's issues? I don't think so. And the second point they have here for ongoing work and future improvements is on the weapon front, Battlefield Studios will continue monitoring the effects of the dispersion changes introduced in California Resistance. So they are indeed still looking at bloom. I don't know, man. I'm telling you right here, right now, I don't think it's that much of an issue. And for anybody who really, really, really hates bloom, I mean, all I can really say is just go back and play some of the previous Battlefield games. It's always been a part of this, franchise. Not always, there has been some games that don't really prioritize, but still, I think it's kind of, ingrained into Battlefield at this point. Even Battlefield 2042, which had no bloom, they had to slowly include it because the community was just so annoyed with how everybody was laser beaming each other across the maps. Again, making a bunch of snipers and other weapons irrelevant because why use that when you can use an SMG or AR, which has, zero downsides to just spraying with low recoil patterns. You see what I'm saying here? That's why I always say bloom is, kind of a thing that should be within Battlefield to a certain extent. And I think they nailed it. I mean, a lot of the guns feel good. I will say LMGs and SMGs have a little bit more sprayability power, but it makes sense because LMGs are supposed to be for, holding nice lanes and spraying it down, and SMGs are not that powerful at range. So, landing more shots, yeah, that's great and all, but you still have to land a lot more shots. And if you're versing anybody who is competent enough with knowing how to burst an AR or a carbine rifle, they're still probably going to outgun you at a decent range. I think we're in a comfortable spot. We'll see what DICE has to say about this. We have no clue what the outcome is going to be and what their data shows behind the scenes. But for me personally, I think that it's in a good location. And I want to know what you guys think. Do you think that the bloom is solid now, or do you think that you're still having issues? And again, I don't want to hear people say no bloom whatsoever. No, I want to hear from people who understand bloom's purpose in Battlefield. But I want to know if you think if it's tuned to a correct degree, or if it still has some work to, be done to make sure it's perfect overall. And hopefully we can come to a conclusion on what needs to happen here. But ladies and gentlemen, that's pretty much all I have for you guys in regards to the brand new update that's coming out on the 9th. Again, keep in mind it's going to be an event, a reworked version, not reworked, but just, it has a variant, a snow variant of it for Empire State. It's going to be snowed over. We're going to be getting a new melee weapon, some camo skins to grind for, so on and so forth. It's a lot of stuff included, but there is going to be a massive, patch drop here. And, the more information that keeps coming on out, you best believe I'll discuss it on this channel. We're going bit by bit, piece by piece. Every single time DICE releases something, we discuss it. So you best believe if they continuously keep doing this and they have more stuff to say, you can hear it on this channel. So as always, subscribe and hit that bell so you stay notified on everything that goes live here. And last but not least, I do stream, guys, Monday through Saturday over on Twitch starting at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Plenty of variety between Battlefield, Splitgate, Arc Raiders. I used to play some Gears of War Reloaded. I'm actually tempted to hop back in. I really miss Gears. I love Gears. But if you guys enjoy that variety, you want to chat it up with me live and in action, then by all means, you can find a link to my Twitch channel down in the description of this video. But as always, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you all next one. Peace out.